You're live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India News, India's voice to the world. I'm Lipakshi Khurana. Coming up in the next hour. India's global outreach and Operation Sindoor continues. All party delegations engage in high-level discussions to strengthen India's fight against terrorism. United States sends Iran proposal on potential nuclear deal amid IAEA report of Tehran's nuclear enrichment activity. In sports, Paris Saint-Germain PSG wins Champions League for the first time in history, beat Inter Milan 5-0 in record-breaking final. And Miss Thailand's Opal Suchata Chuangsuri, crowned Miss World 2025, Hassan Dereje Admasu of Ethiopia is the runner-up. Well, on to the details. As a demonstration of India's steadfast commitment to eradicating terrorism, 7 multi-party parliamentary delegations are engaged in high-level discussions during their official visits abroad. An all-party parliamentary delegation led by Member of Indian Parliament Baijnath Jay Panda is currently visiting Algeria to strengthen India's fight against terrorism. Addressing the Algerian media, members of think tanks and the Indian diaspora, Baijnath Panda slammed Pakistan on Saturday, highlighting that the neighbouring country is using its nuclear power to shield its terrorist activities. The delegation also observed a moment of silence in memory of those who lost their lives in the Pakistan-sponsored terror attack in Pahalgam. Another all-party parliamentary delegation led by Member of Indian Parliament Ravi Shankar Prasad arrived in London on the third leg of their multi-nation visit. During their course of stay in the UK, the delegation will meet Speaker of the House of Commons Sir Lindsay Hoyle, FCDO Minister for Indo-Pacific Catherine West MP, members of both houses of the UK Parliament and important representatives from media, think tanks and Indian diaspora. The delegation is on a visit to the United Kingdom till June 3rd with a mission to convey India's unequivocal commitment to defeat terrorism. Well, as part of the Government of India's continued efforts under Operation Sindoor, the high-level delegation led by Member of Indian Parliament Sanjay Kumar Jha arrived in Kuala Lumpur on Saturday. India's High Commissioner to Malaysia briefed the delegation, setting the context for engagements in Malaysia to convey India's resolve in fighting terrorism. The delegation will meet with Malaysian ministers, members of parliament, representatives of think tanks, academia, media and Indian community to convey India's national consensus and collective resolve to combat terrorism in all its forms and manifestations. The multi-party Indian parliamentary delegation led by Member of Indian Parliament Supriya Sule held fruitful interactions and intense discussions with top Ethiopian lawmakers, dignitaries, African Union Commission. During the meetings, the delegation members underscored the continued threat of cross-border terrorism and deliberate attempts to sow social discord in India. The Ethiopian side emphasized its own zero-tolerance policy against terrorism and condemned the terrorist act committed on 22nd of April against innocent citizens. They expressed willingness to work together to address this global challenge. The delegation also held an interaction with Indian community based in Ethiopia. The delegation recognized the vital contribution of diaspora and conveyed India's commitment towards its diaspora. After completing a fruitful visit to Colombia, multi-party delegation led by Member of Indian Parliament Shashi Tharoor left for Brazil. During their visit to Colombia, the delegation held an in-depth and wide-ranging interaction with members of the Colombian Council on International Relations. The discussions focused on various aspects of India-Colombia relations. The delegation also interacted with Indian diaspora and Colombian citizens, highlighting India's resolute stand against terrorism and new strategies to counter cross-border terror. In line with India's principled and resolute stance against terrorism, multi-party delegation led by Dr. Shrikant Shinde arrived in Liberia's Monrovia on Saturday, the last leg of their four-nation visit. During their stay in Monrovia, the delegation will be meeting with President of Liberia, Speaker of the House of Representatives, President pro tempore of the Senate, Minister of Foreign Affairs, as well as leading think tanks and representatives of the media. The delegation will convey India's strong message of zero tolerance towards terrorism in all its forms and manifestations. Another all-party parliamentary delegation led by Member of Indian Parliament Kani Mozi arrived in Madrid on the final leg of its multi-nation outreach. The delegation was received by India's ambassador to Spain, Dinesh Patnaik. Over the next 2 days, the delegation will meet with members of the Spanish government, the Indian diaspora and civil society representatives to present India's stance of zero tolerance for terrorism. And the NIA has conducted a massive search operation at 15 locations across 8 states in a Pakistan-linked spying case. States include Delhi, Maharashtra, Haryana, Uttar Pradesh, Rajasthan, Chhattisgarh, Assam and West Bengal. Raids targeted suspects linked with Pakistan intelligence operatives. Electronic gadgets, financial records and other sensitive materials were seized. The suspects allegedly acted as conduits for Pakistani operatives to leak classified information. The case, registered on May 20th, is being probed under BNS, Official Secrets Act and UAPA. And as part of Operation Shield, the civil defense drills were held across Punjab, Haryana, Rajasthan, Gujarat, Chandigarh and Jammu and Kashmir on Saturday. Extensive drills were carried out across key districts in Jammu and Kashmir, including Jammu, Srinagar, Udhampur, Aknoor, Doda and Baramulla, focusing on improving response mechanisms in vulnerable areas. The second phase was aimed at addressing critical gaps identified during the initial round of exercises. Punjab and Haryana also saw coordinated statewide drills involving sirens, blackouts and simulated emergency scenarios, all designed to test the readiness of civil authorities and public participation. In Rajasthan as well, mock drills were conducted across all 41 districts, including border areas like Jaisalmer, to enhance preparedness for potential wartime contingencies. Meanwhile, the western state of Gujarat also conducted full-scale exercises with active participation from the NDRF, SDRF, civil defense and local administration, reinforcing a unified emergency response framework. And the 17th edition of the India-Mongolia Joint Military Exercise, Nomadic Elephant, began on Saturday at the Special Forces Training Center, Ulaanbaatar. The 14-day-long joint drills will involve counter-terrorism operations in semi-mountainous terrain, a critical area of operational focus given the contemporary security landscape. The troops will also rehearse activities conducted during United Nations peacekeeping operations, simulating real-world situations where multinational forces must collaborate effectively in complex environments. This collaboration aims to improve both forces' ability to respond swiftly and effectively during an operation. As the exercise progresses, the participating forces will engage in a series of tactical drills, exchanging knowledge and expertise while building lasting ties of friendship and trust. While reflecting the growing maritime security cooperation between India and the European Union, the two sides will conduct a joint naval exercise in the Indian Ocean from June 1st to 3rd. The exercise will focus on advanced counter-piracy operations, interoperability, tactical maneuvers and enhanced communication protocols. Take a look.
In a significant step towards enhanced maritime collaboration, India and the European Union will hold a joint naval exercise in the Indian Ocean. The exercise will feature ships from the Indian Navy and 2 frigates from the European Union Naval Force Operation Atalanta. The participating EU ships, the Italian frigate Antonio Marseglia and the Spanish frigate Reina Sofia, are currently docked at Mumbai. The joint exercise will be coordinated by the respective maritime operations centers. Rear Admiral David D'Apozzo, Force Commander of the UNIFOR Atlanta, and Hervé Delphin, the Ambassador of the European Union to India, elaborated on the significance of the exercise and the broader EU-India cooperation.
It's the first time that Atalanta units are mooring in Mumbai We have 2 ships here, so it's a big event in enhancing our cooperation and coordination with the Indian Navy. We share the same values, we share the same goals, which are maritime security in the Indian Ocean. So we are really committed to increase cooperation and coordination, and this exercise will help us in doing this.
I think it stems simply from the recognition of how much our interests intersect in ensuring maritime security. For a very simple reason, I think in the Indo-Pacific, we both see the importance of maintaining free and open and rule-based Indian Ocean access and in the Indo-Pacific access. This is in our economic interest and in our security interest.
Hervé Delphin, the ambassador of the European Union to India, also reaffirmed EU's strong commitment to combating terrorism. He emphasized that the European Union's recognition of India's right to defend itself and protect its citizens. He noted that Operation Sindoor was a response to the Pahalgam terror attack.
As a strong partner of India, we of course always been standing in contact with India. We made our position very clear, condemning the attack, recognizing the right of India to defend and protect its citizens in such situations.
India and the European Union are steadily enhancing cooperation on maritime security. Both sides share a deep commitment to a free, open, inclusive and rules-based maritime order in the Indo-Pacific region. Sharma Mishra's report for DD India in Mumbai.
And some weather updates from across India now. Extremely heavy rainfall continued to lash India's northeast region for the 3rd consecutive day, triggered by a deep depression over the northwest Bay of Bengal. Disaster officials said on Saturday that torrential rains have claimed at least 3 lives in Assam. Meanwhile, in Dibrugarh, water levels in the Brahmaputra River remained high, rising to 105.74, which is above the danger mark of 105.70. Well, water level of the Teesta River also increased following heavy rainfall in Mangan district of North Sikkim. Authorities have activated emergency services monitoring water levels, especially in low-lying and landslide-prone regions. In Manipur's capital, Imphal, officials rescued residents after heavy rains led to a flood-like situation. Security personnel were seen transporting locals on rafts, while others waded through knee-deep water. The Indian Meteorological Department has issued an orange alert with isolated very heavy rainfall expected in Assam, Meghalaya, Nagaland, Manipur, Mizoram and Tripura on Sunday. And in India's Subina Roy joins us from Northeast India's Dibrugarh. Well, Subina, how is the situation there now? How are the local and the state authorities coordinating with the disaster response across multiple affected Northeast states, especially areas prone to landslides and flash floods?
Right, Lipakshi, the situation in the entire Northeast is extremely critical as continuous rains continue to batter the entire Northeast after the deep depression from Bay of Bengal struck the northeastern states. First, it entered through the southern Assam, Tripura, and now it has extended over to the entire northeastern states. 1,500 tourists are stranded in Mangan district, Lacheng and Lachung areas. These are the areas where landslides happen, and due to which one vehicle fall off the gorge into the Teesta River. And apart from that, 1,500 tourists are stranded in the Sikkim. And if we go to the part of Arunachal Pradesh, 9 lives have been lost in Arunachal Pradesh in 2 separate landslides, one in East Khamang district and one in the lower Sudansiri district. In Meghalaya also experienced slides due to which certain lives were lost. If we talk about Mizoram, 5 deaths have been reported from Mizoram, where landslide-induced rains have washed away families in Champai district. In Imphal, Lipakshi, the posh areas were inundated with flood waters as the Imphal river has breached at 3 areas like Hengang, Tokcham and Kurai area. So the areas you could see the visuals. The NDRF and SDRF teams were rescuing people through boats, and everywhere, on almost all the districts have been affected badly by these rains. We come to Guwahati, some of the major lifelines of like the national highways have been affecting emergency supplies to the states, to the different villages and districts, like the NH17 near Boko, which has been battered due to the rains that have been coming from Meghalaya. Now, if we talk about Assam, 12 districts in Assam are going to experience heavy rainfall even today, like Dhemaji, Lakhimpur, South Salmara, Darang, Karbi Anglong, Dhubri, Kamrup, and if we talk about the Brahmaputra River, the river levels are quite high, flowing beyond danger level at certain points. Like Dibrugarh, the danger level is 105.70, and recently till the morning, it was above the danger level. The water level had reached almost 105.82 meters. Apart from that, the Buri Dihing is at Margretha is flowing above danger level, which is at 136 meters. And the Noa Dihing River at Namsai is also flowing above danger level, and it is flowing at 144 meter Lepachi. As far as the rescue operations are concerned, till now, 335 people have been rescued through boats by the NDRF and SDRF team in Assam. Around 6,000 people are staying in relief camps. In 16 relief camps have been set up till now. If we talk about the overall population which is affected, around 58,000 people are affected in Assam. Affecting around so 700 acres of agricultural land.
Right, Subina, I understand that all relief measures are being taken, and the situation, though, is very critical. All the authorities are taking all the relief measures. Thank you so much for all the details from Dibrugarh, Assam. And still to come on DD India News. Bangladesh tribunal to file formal charges against ex-PM Sheikh Hasina over alleged crimes against humanity. Poland heads to closest presidential runoff since fall of communism. US envoy slams Hamas response to ceasefire proposal as totally unacceptable amid stalled Gaza talks.
Welcome to Orwell. In the heart of Tamil Nadu, a city without borders is rising. A dream of unity, rooted in spirit and shaped by hands from around the world. Where sustainability is a way of life and education means self-discovery.
This is a place where human spirit meets with the divine.
Watch the special broadcast on these times, only on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lepaksha Quran, and moving on, the US has sent Iran a proposal for a nuclear deal between Tehran and Washington. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi said he had been presented with elements of a US deal by his Omani counterpart Badr al-Busaidi during a short visit to the Iranian capital. It comes after a report by the UN nuclear watchdog said Iran had further stepped up its production of enriched uranium, a key component in the making of nuclear weapons. Iran has consistently said it won't sign any deal that does not allow enrichment, while US officials have publicly committed to denying Iran that option. Also, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said on Saturday it was in Tehran's best interest to accept the deal, adding President Trump has made it clear that Iran can never obtain a nuclear bomb. And DD India's Mark Lynn joins us for more on this. Well, Mark, what are the key terms of the US proposal delivered through Oman, and how do they differ from the previous nuclear deal frameworks like the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action?
Well, Lopakshi, the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action was signed in 2015 when the Obama administration was just about to be in office. And it had the P5 plus Germany and the EU as part of its signatories. According to that deal, Iran was only allowed to enrich up to 3.67% of its uranium. But that continued for about 3 years, that deal. And the Trump administration withdrew from that deal in 2018, saying that Iran was enriching beyond that, and it was not a very fair deal because it didn't seem that Iran was keeping away from enriching up to the level of having a nuclear weapon now. But the point is that if you have to enrich uranium, you have to enrich it up to 90% in order to have a nuclear weapon, and Iran currently is enriching up to about 60%. So currently what is happening is that since April, there is negotiations that have been going on with the United States. Abbas Araghchi used to be the nuclear negotiator in the past for Iran. He's currently the foreign minister, and he's heading these negotiations with the US through Oman. And the Trump administration has not given out the exact details, but according to reports, it's very clear that Trump says that he is wanting to have U.S. administrators or U.S. watchdog, U.S. staff who will be able to come into Iran and check all their nuclear reactors to see whether they are upgrading up to the level of a nuclear weapon. And if they find that kind of information, then the U.S. would be in a position to actually destroy all those nuclear sites.
Right.
That is the kind of deal that the U.S. has put on the table currently. Now, apparently, the Saudis have already asked Iran to accept this kind of a deal. So Iran says that the U.S. is delusional if it has any understanding that it's going to basically destroy any of their nuclear facilities. Lopakshi.
Right. Mark, given the sharp divide over the uranium enrichment, as you were mentioning, will it be possible for both Iran and the US to find a common ground without compromising their core positions, as Iran insists that its program is peaceful and described the IAEA report as politically motivated?
Yes, indeed. You did refer to the UN report, which is the IAEA report, which has said that they have now reached a level of 60% of uranium enrichment. Iran says that their purpose is basically to have civil nuclear energy for their country, and that they do not require to be importing fuel from elsewhere. If they had the 3.67% uranium enrichment, they would have to basically be importing fuel from outside. But of course, the U.S. sanctions have been strong. What's happened now is that the U.S. has put maximum sanctions on Iran once again. And these maximum sanctions forbid countries from even trading with Iran. I mean, if they do trade, then the U.S. sanctions come on them. And also to prevent Iran from entering into any weapons agreements. Also because, Iran is producing a number of UAVs. So there are a lot of strong restrictions that the U.S. is trying to impose on Iran at the current time. But Israel is of the opinion that Iran is continuing to build a nuclear weapon, and that is part of their national goal. So the U.S. is trying its best to limit that as per their understanding. The other Gulf countries also do not want Iran to have a nuclear weapon because they believe that that would lead to a huge the likelihood of a very strong war between Israel and Iran before that stage arises. And they're trying to stop that with negotiations currently. Currently, of course, the U.S. is pushing a difficult bargain for Iran because there is huge sanctions. The Iran economy is crippling. But currently, Iran is of the opinion that its nuclear program is very much on track.
Right. Mark, thank you so much for all those insights. And moving on, US President Donald Trump's envoy to the Middle East rejected Hamas's response to a US-backed proposal for a temporary ceasefire as totally unacceptable. The Palestinian militant group said it was willing to release 10 living hostages and hand over the bodies of 18 dead in exchange for Palestinian prisoners in Israeli prisons. But Hamas reiterated demands for an end to the conflict and withdrawal of Israeli troops from Gaza, conditions Israel has rejected. Well, also, the proposals would see a 60-day truce and the exchange of 28 of the 58 hostages still held in Gaza for more than 1,200 Palestinian prisoners and detainees, along with the entry of humanitarian aid into the enclave. There was no immediate response from Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office to the Hamas statement. Meanwhile, Trump said on Friday he believed a ceasefire agreement was close after the latest proposals, and the White House said on Thursday that Israel had agreed to the terms. Also, the Israel Defense Forces claim to have killed the chief of Hamas, Mohammed Sinwar, on May 13th, a strike on the grounds of the European hospital in Khan Younis in the southern Gaza Strip. In a post on X, the IDF said, and I quote, "We eliminated the head of Hamas again. He happens to be a Sinwar too," unquote. In a joint statement, the Israel Defense Forces and Shin Bet Security Agency said they had confirmed that the May 13th strike on the grounds of the European hospital in Khan Younis had killed Sinwar along with Mohammed Shabana, commander of the terror group's Rafah Brigade, and Mahdi Quara, commander of the South Khan Younis Battalion. Well, Mohammed Sinwar, a senior Hamas military commander, was the younger brother of the former Hamas leader in Gaza, Yahya Sinwar, and the youngest Sinwar had been at the top of Israel's most wanted list. Also, after Yahya Sinwar was killed in combat in October 2024, Mohammed Sinwar became the de facto leader of the terror group in Gaza. And moving on, in Bangladesh, the prosecution is set to submit formal charges against former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina at the International Crimes Tribunal on Saturday. The case concerns allegations of crimes against humanity linked to the mass uprising that took place in July to August. Mohammed Tajul Islam, the chief prosecutor of the International Crimes Tribunal, shared the information during a discussion on immediate trial of those involved in enforced disappearance at the National Press Club in Dhaka, according to Bangladesh Sangbad Sangast. Also on May 12th, the investigation agency of the tribunal submitted its probe report against the deposed Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, former Home Minister Asaduzzaman Khan Kamal, and former Inspector General of Police Chaudhry Abdullah Al Mamun, bringing 5 allegations of crimes against humanity committed during the July uprising. Also, the former Prime Minister is already facing 2 other cases filed with the ICT, one over alleged involvement in enforced disappearances and extrajudicial killings, and the other over alleged killings during the 2013 Hifazat-e-Islam rally in Dhaka's Shapla Chatar, reports BSS. And India's Naval Singh Parma joins us from Dhaka, Bangladesh, for more on this. Well, Naval, what's the latest from there as the prosecution is set to submit formal charges against Sheikh Hasina?
Well, today, prosecution will submit the probe report to the International Crime Tribunal here in Dhaka. As you mentioned earlier, that there are already 2 cases in ICT against the Sheikh Hasina and his cabinet colleagues, including Home Minister and Police Chief of Bangladesh. There are around 50 plus cases against the Sheikh Hasina. Whatever happened here in every nook and corner of Bangladesh, in every cases, complainant had included Sheikh Hasina's name. So she is facing more than 50 criminal cases. Apart from that, some corruption cases are also registered after the 5th August. So, and it is trained in Bangladesh once the ruler or the Prime Minister get down from the seat, then the cases, Pandora box of cases, criminal cases will be registered, open, and cases will be registered. So she is also facing the same kind of situation now here in Bangladesh. Already ICT, International Crime Tribunal, have issued arrest warrant in 2 cases.
We seem to have a glitch in the phone line. Moving on right now to more still to come on DD India News Hour. White House drops Isaac Man as NASA nominee days before Senate vote. President Trump to announce new nominee. Flooding in Nigeria's Niger state claims 151 lives, displaces thousands. And Moscow's Lilac Garden burst into bloom, showcasing over 300 varieties in spectacular display.
Can the US launch a bombing campaign against Iran? The Philippines vessel suffered structural damage. The saga of child sexual abuse is the United States China's debt trap strategy. Truth is stranger than fiction. But sometimes hard to uncover. Trust us to tell the truth, unadulterated and pure, of every story that matters to you. You read between the lines, cut the clutter, and connect the dots to get you the full picture. Watch Connecting the Dots at these times with me, only on DD.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Nipakshi Khurana, and moving on, polls were cast their votes on Sunday in the closest presidential runoff since the fall of communism, in an election that pits two different visions of the nation against each other. Sunday's election promises to have a decisive impact on Poland's future course and its relationship with the European Union. A win for pro-European Zaraskowski, who belongs to Prime Minister Donald Tusk's civil coalition, would allow Tusk to push ahead with his reformist agenda. Nowrocki, meanwhile, comes from the conservative nationalist Law and Justice Party, like the incumbent President Andrzej Duda, who has blocked many of the government's legislative projects with his veto power. In Poland, the president holds a 5-year term and has broad powers, including representing the country abroad, influencing foreign policy, appointing the head of government and the cabinet, and serving as commander-in-chief of the armed forces in the event of war. And Italy's Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni will host President of France Emmanuel Macron next week in talks seen as an attempt to ease the tensions after years of strained relations and recent jibes between the European leaders. The meeting comes just weeks after the tense relations between the pair were exposed at a summit of European leaders in Albania on May 16th. Meloni was in Tirana but was notably absent from a meeting between Macron and the leaders of Germany, Britain and Poland with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky that was followed by a joint call to US President Donald Trump. Meloni said she did not join them because she opposes the idea of sending Italian troops to Ukraine to enforce any eventual peace in the war with Russia. Macron later said that Italian was operating under a misunderstanding. And Ukraine ordered the evacuation of 11 villages in the Sumy region on Saturday amid offensive fears. Authorities in Sumy region announced the evacuation of 11 villages located within 30 kilometers of the Russian border. In total, 213 settlements in the region are being evacuated. Russia claims to have captured several towns in northeastern Ukraine and has deployed over 50,000 soldiers near the border. The evacuations occurred just 2 days before a potential meeting between the two sides in Istanbul, with Washington urging both nations to end the 3-year conflict. Russia will send a delegation to Istanbul, but Kyiv said the talks will be ineffective unless Russia shares its peace terms first in advance. And China has condemned U.S. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth's speech at the Shangri-La Dialogue in Singapore, accusing Washington of fueling regional tensions and urging it not to play with fire. In his address, Hegseth portrayed China as a threat multiple times and made comments on issues including Taiwan and the South China Sea. A spokesperson for China's Ministry of Foreign Affairs said in a statement that Hegseth deliberately ignored the calls for peace and development from countries in the region and instead touted the Cold War mentality for bloc confrontation. The statement accused U.S. of being world's true hegemonic power and the primary source of instability in the Asia-Pacific. On the Taiwan question, the spokesperson reiterated that it is purely China's internal affair and that it brooks no foreign interference. Regarding the South China Sea, the spokesperson stressed that there has never been an issue with freedom of navigation or overflight in the region. And the White House announced on Saturday that President Donald Trump will soon unveil a new nominee to lead NASA, confirming that tech billionaire Jared Isaacman is no longer in consideration for the role. While no official explanation was given for the reversal, the move came just days before the Senate was expected to vote on Isaacman's confirmation. Isaacman has been a close collaborator with Musk ever since he bought his first chartered flight on Musk's SpaceX in 2021. He is the CEO and founder of Shift4 credit card processing company. He also brought a series of space flights from SpaceX and conducted the first private spacewalk. Isaacman testified at his Senate confirmation hearing on April 9th, and a vote to send his nomination to the full Senate was expected soon. And Saudi Arabia's Foreign Minister Prince Faisal bin Farhan Al Saud announced that the kingdom, in collaboration with Qatar, will provide financial support to state employees in Syria. Speaking at a press conference in Damascus alongside his Syrian counterpart, Asad al-Shibani bin Farhan confirmed the joint financial aid but did not specify the amount. The move follows a similar initiative by Qatar to fund Syria's public sector. He also highlighted Saudi Arabia's role in supporting the removal of economic sanctions on Syria, emphasizing that the kingdom will remain a key ally in Syria's reconstruction and economic recovery. Well, bin Farhan's visit comes shortly after the U.S. made an unexpected decision to lift sanctions on Syria's Islamist-led government, which overthrew former leader Bashar al-Assad in December.
The kingdom will provide with Qatar joint financial support to state employees in Syria. Saudi Arabia would continue to be one of the main backers to Syria on its path to reconstruction and economic recovery.
Well, at least 7 people killed after a bridge collapsed onto railway tracks on Saturday in Russia's Bryansk region that borders Ukraine. Authorities said 30 injured, including 2 children. Moscow Railway said a train derailed between Klimov and Moscow due to a collapse of a road bridge span as a result of illegal interference in the operation of transport. Meanwhile, rescue operation is still undergoing. And former UN official Kamil Idris was sworn in as Sudan's new Prime Minister at the headquarters of the Sudanese Sovereignty Council in Port Sudan to officially begin his term. Sudan's Army Chief Abdel Fattah Burhan appointed Idris an ex-presidential candidate on May 19th, marking the first Prime Minister appointment since the 2021 coup that ousted civilian leadership and established a caretaker government. It is unclear how much power the Prime Minister will have as the army fights a devastating conflict against the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces. Idris's appointment follows less than a month after Burhan named diplomat Dafala al-Hajj Ali as acting Prime Minister in a move that did not appear to take effect. And relatives and human rights defenders of Colombians detained in Venezuela protested in the border town of Cacata, demanding the release of those detained, calling their arrest unjust. As per media reports, at least 18 Colombians have been detained in Venezuela in the last 8 months, and many have been unable to communicate with their families. During the protests, relatives and friends of Ivan Colmenares, one of the detainees, urged Colombian President Gustavo Petro to intervene with Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro to secure his release. The Colombian Foreign Affairs Ministry said the Chancellor Laura Sanabria had raised the status of detained citizens with Venezuelan authorities, among other issues, at the Caribbean States Conference. And in Indonesia, authorities will continue searching on Sunday for 8 people trapped in a rock collapse at a quarry in West Java. The search operation has been hampered by bad weather, unstable soil and rugged terrain. As per the latest report, 17 people have been killed while 6 others injured in the incident. The cause of the collapse is still under investigation and police have been questioning 6 people, including the owner of the quarry. The incident happened on Friday when a limestone quarry collapsed in West Java province. The Energy and Mineral Resources Ministry said in a statement it would investigate the cause of the collapse and conduct an assessment to identify any potential further landslides. And flooding in Nigeria's Niger state this week has claimed 151 lives and displaced thousands from their homes. The Director of Information at the Niger State Emergency Management Agency, Ibrahim Audu Hussaini, updated the death toll, which had previously been reported as 117 on Friday. He also stated that over 500 households were affected and more than 3,000 people had been displaced. The flooding, which struck the central town of Mokwa in Niger state, began on Wednesday night. Days later, rescue teams were still searching through mud and debris for additional victims. And Google announced its decision to appeal a ruling against it for anti-competitive behavior in online search on Saturday, a day after the company urged a U.S. judge to reject the suggestion of spinning off its Chrome browser. Google was found guilty in the summer of 2024 for illegal practices to establish and maintain its monopoly in online search. The Justice Department is seeking major changes, including forcing Google to divest from its Chrome browser and banning exclusivity agreements with smartphone makers that set Google as the default search engine. Google argued that the Justice Department's proposal gives the government control over user data, bypassing the court. Instead, Google suggested less drastic measures like allowing manufacturers to pre-install the Google Play Store, but not Chrome or the Searchfire engine. The Friday hearing, which concluded the arguments phase, will now be followed by the judge's decision expected in August. And now let's take a look at other stories making news across the globe. As spring awakens, flower festivals are also in full bloom across both rural and urban areas in mainland China. Lindsay City hosted a peach blossom festival, drawing tourists from various cities with more than 1,200 wild peach trees. The paradise has earned its name as Tibet's premier peach blossom village. Cheering spectators and dragon boat race teams roared to life in Hong Kong on Saturday as the city celebrated the annual Dragon Boat Festival. 46 teams competed in the Aberdeen Dragon Boat Race for a total of 12 trophies in different categories. From snowy white to bright pink and dark purple every year in May, tourists enjoy every possible shade, shape and size of lilac blooms all over the Russian capital. Among the many places where this shrub can be seen, one in the northeast of Moscow, the lilac garden is most famous for its over 300 new lilac varieties. Miss Thailand Opal Suchata Chuangsri was crowned Miss World 2025 at the 72nd edition of the Miss World pageant. Chuangsri topped a field of 108 contestants in the contest held in India's southern Hyderabad city. Hassan Dereje Admasu of Ethiopia was the first runner-up in the competition. Chuangsri received a crown from last year's winner, Christina Kova. The 72nd Miss World Beauty pageant was hosted by Miss World 2016 Stephanie Del Valle and Indian presenter Sachin Kumbhar.
And in time-honored tradition, take her to the throne.
Well, every year since 2001, June 1st is observed as the World Milk Day by the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations to acknowledge the importance of milk as a global food and to celebrate the dairy sector. India ranks first in milk production since 1998 and contributes to 25% of global milk production. Here's more. Over the past 10 years, India's milk production has increased significantly by 63.56%, from 146.3 million tons in 2014-15 to 239.2 million tons during the year 2023-24. This reflects an annual growth rate of 5.7% during the past 10 years. In contrast, the world milk production is growing at 2% per annum. Per capita availability of milk in India has also increased by 48% in the last decade. Dairy is the single largest agricultural commodity, contributing 5% of the national economy. As an industry, it employs more than 80 million people, with the majority being small and marginal farmers as well as the landless. India has also made significant strides in the dairy cooperative sector. Within this sector are about 22 milk federations, 240 district cooperative milk unions, 28 marketing dairies, and 24 milk producer organizations. These organizations encompass approximately 230,000 villages and include 18 million dairy farmers as members.
1st June is celebrated as the World Milk Day around the world. India is the largest producer of milk in the world, so naturally it's a matter of great joy for all the 8 crore families who are dependent on milk for livelihood across the country. Today is also a very important day for Amul because we are going to launch milk in Spain from today onwards. So apart from the launch in US and Amul Doodh Pita Hai India, we are happy that Europe also will start consuming and the taste of Amul milk, and we will make this small attempt to honor the vision of our Honorable Prime Minister to ensure that there is an Indian food item on every dining table of the world.
Women constitute the major workforce of the dairy sector in the country, with 35% of women participating in dairy cooperatives. There are 48,000 women dairy cooperative societies operational at the village level nationwide, empowering women in rural areas. With a series of measures being taken by the government as well as the growing role of the private sector in dairy development, India is expected to sustain its growth in milk production and milk processing in the coming decades. The revised increase in budget for the National Programme for Dairy Development India also aims to increase milk procurement, processing capacity and quality control, enhance market access for farmers and better pricing through value addition, as well as strengthening of the dairy supply chain to increase rural income and development. Number of other funds and schemes like Animal Husbandry Infrastructure Development Fund, Rashtriya Gokul Mission, National Livestock Mission is also bringing sharp focus on entrepreneurship, development and breed improvement, capacity building of veterinary services, disease surveillance and capital loans for individuals. Bureau Report, DD India.
And time now for a short break. We'll be back in a while.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the Economic Brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lepakshi Khurana, and on to some sports news now. In IPL, Indian Premier League, Punjab Kings will face Mumbai Indians in Qualifier 2 in Ahmedabad. Punjab come into this match after losing the Qualifier 1 to RCB in a one-sided affair. In 2014, Punjab lost Qualifier 1 to Kolkata Knight Riders, but won Qualifier 2 against Chennai Super Kings to reach the finale. However, they lost the final against KKR. That was the only time they reached an IPL final. Mumbai, on the other hand, reached the IPL finale 6 times so far and won 5 of them. In 2011, they lost Qualifier 2 to Royal Challengers Bangalore. The only other time they lost Qualifier 2 was in 2023. Hardik Pandya-led side come into match after edging out Gujarat Titans in the eliminator. And India's Sachin Yadav delivered a personal best to secure the silver medal in the men's javelin throw event at the Asian Athletics Championship in Gumi City of South Korea.
on Saturday. Sachin Yadav, who stands 6 feet and 5 inches tall, logged 85.16 meter, while Arshad Nadeem bagged gold and Japan's Yuta Sakiyama claimed bronze. Meanwhile, Parul Chaudhary continued her stellar form by bagging silver in the women's 5,000-meter race. In the women's 800-meter race, Pooja Singh claimed bronze. India's Vidya Ramraj secured bronze in the women 400-meter hurdles event. India entered the Asian Championships with 24 medals, including 8 gold, 10 silver and 6 bronze. India finished second in the medal table behind China's tally of 26. An Indian wrestler, Ritika Huda, clinched a gold medal in the 76 kg freestyle event at the Ulaanbaatar Ranking Series tournament in Mongolia on Saturday. Ritika took a close 5-2 win over former World Championship medalist Enk Amaran Devansan in the final round. Meanwhile, there were 4 more medals on the day for India: silver for Deepak Punia, Shiksha, Pushpa and bronze for Jaideep. India now has bagged 17 medals, including 6 gold, 6 silver and 5 bronze. The tournament concludes on Sunday. And while number 1 Yannick Sinner poured into the 4th round of the French Open after he outclassed Jiri Lehecka 6-0, 6-1, 6-2 on Saturday, Sinner continued his fine form at Roland Garros, where he has not dropped a set, extending his winning streak at Grand Slam events to 17 matches. 3-time Grand Slam winner, Sinner next meets Russia's Andrei Rublev. In the women's draw, American Jessica Pegula batted into the last 16 with a 3-6, 6-4, 6-2 win over Marketa Vondrousova. The 31-year-old, who missed the 2024 tournament due to injuries, hopes to better her previous best run in Paris, which was a quarter-final appearance 3 years ago. 6th seed Mira Andreeva eased into the 4th round with a 6-3, 6-1 win over Yulia Putintseva. Andreeva is competing in just her 9th Grand Slam event, but the teenager has now reached the 2nd week in 5 of them. And Paris Saint-Germain became first-time winners of Champions League after an emphatic 5-0 win over Inter Milan in a one-sided final on Saturday. PSG's win is the biggest winning margin in the final of the competition dating to 1956 and sealed a treble after already winning Ligue 1 and the Coupe de France. PSG's win makes them only the 2nd French club to lift the European Cup after Marseille in 1993. And coach Luis Enrique committed his 2nd success after guiding Barcelona to victory in 2015. Well, post PSG's victory, the Eiffel Tower was illuminated in the blue and red colours of the French capital's football team. Eyewitness footage showed the tower lit up in PSG's colours as fans set off fireworks in celebration. So Eiffel Tower illuminates in blue and red, and eyewitness footage showed the tower lit up in PSG's colours as fans set off fireworks in celebration. All right, that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. Well, we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Nipakshi Khurana from Alphasair in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.
Welcome.